We'll get back to that topic later. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hashtag Sports and another episode of Razor Sharp Picks Week 3. Week 3. And, it's funny. We talk about Week 1, Ryan. We talk about Week 1 being so difficult as far as, figuring things out. And then you think you have an idea of what's happening on Tuesday, Week 2. And this week 2 happened, and I still feel like I have no idea what's going on in the NFL.
Yeah, it's taken longer this season to get a handle on things than it has in the past. It seems like there's a lot of parity this season, a lot of surprises this season, and that's what makes this fun, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Maybe not great if you're trying to win money, unless your name's Ryan. And you can win some of your parlays. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I heard a stat that this is the first time since 1980 something, one of the seasons in 1980, where back-to-back weeks, week 1 and week 2, the team with the biggest lines lost. It happened in week 1, and now it happened again in week 2, where the teams who are the biggest favorites lost, and that's the first time that's happened since 1980. It helps me in my elimination pool since I'm still alive, but doesn't help me when it comes to these bets. But again, my name's Joe. I'm next to Ryan, hanging out with you guys every single week, Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern time, giving you both our picks straight up, our picks against the spread, and then betting some money. And if you take Ryan's bets, you win some money, so that's good. Hopefully I can catch up, because that's what I need to do now. But it's still early, Ryan. It's still early. We'll figure this out. We won't have any problems. But again, as you're joining us, the chat is open. Make sure you say hi, where you're watching from. See a couple people in here already. Daniel, Amy, Spin, always good to see you. Oh, I'm just here to slander all of Joe's picks. That's fine. Actually, after last week, it makes complete sense. I am on that train
with week for the boys last week.
Joe says, yeah. Listen, luckily for me, I had a good week 1, so I'm still above 500. I'll show that in a second here. Once I am not Paul, I am Joe, so we'll show that. But show our week 2, and I don't want to take that. I don't want that on my name. You know what I'm saying? But show our week 2 results against the spread. I went 6-10. Straight up, we both went 8-8, so we both finished 500 there. You finished 500 against the spread. So far this year against the spread, I'm 17-15. You're 15-17. So again, after a good week 1, a little worse week 2. Hopefully, we get back on that winning track. You got on the winning track with your parlays last week. You had both your parlays won. Is that correct?
Yeah, both my Bills specific parlay that I do each week, that one hit, and my anytime touchdown parlay hit. Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, and I believe the other one was Ramondre Stevenson punched one in. So the three guys got it done for me this week. Last week, those were the big ones, right? That was my 2-unit lock of the week. So that was plus 700. So that put me up pretty big for the week. Hopefully keep it rolling this week.
Yeah, so that means you're betting with some free money this week, and again, you want to keep that rolling, right? So those units keep up. Speaking of betting with free money, since I'm losing, that's a terrible thing. But if you use betdsi.eu, which is the link is in our description, I just put more money in my account today, and as we said last week, not only do you get your first match of up to $1,000, I match 125% up to $1,000. Using promo code HTAG. I was able to get in there today, and they matched 200% of my new deposit today. So again, talking about promos on top of promos, and it's so easy, right? So you put your money in, and it says, here's a list of promos. Which one would you like? And there's more than one. You just look at them and read them, and you're like, okay, I'll take this one this time, and I'll take this one this time. So, if you don't already use BetDSI, it's a great thing to use. Again, if you haven't used BetDSI, go to betdsi.eu. Again, link in the description, and then put your first deposit down using promo code HTAG, and they will match your first deposit up to $1,000, 125%. A good way to make some free money, and then make some free bets, and hopefully win some real money, all at the same time. Spin comes in and says Joe might need the gambling holics number before he goes bankrupt with these picks. Listen, that is a good reason and a good time to remind everyone that's why you can only bet what you can afford to lose. Because again, Vegas didn't build all those fancy buildings with lights because people like Ryan and I win a lot. Okay, that's not how it happens.
And remember
so,
too,
yeah,
remember too, if you do need help, make sure you look up your state specific phone number. All the states have different phone numbers to reach out to if you are having issues with gambling. But hopefully, we're not pushing anybody into any degenerate gambling or anything like that. BetDSI.eu does a good job of giving you some free money, some incentives to play these plays that we've got. And like I said, I mean, if you jump on up on the bandwagon last week, you're plus units on the season, which is a great place to be after week 2. And fun fact, even if you were to just go with our straight up picks over the first 2 weeks of the season, you would be plus. I think it works out to be about plus 4 units total on the season. So if you're anxious and you want to get in on the action, you don't want to risk too much money, too much risk, just go with the straight up picks. Those are the nice, easy ones to make for the most part.
Yeah. And again, as we talked about before, another straight up pick if you don't want to lose too much and are looking to maybe win a little bit. Just bet the under of every single game this season, and more than likely you'll
touchdowns
end up
are way down.
Like, more
this
than
season.
likely. Yeah, more than likely you end up on top. In fact, Ryan and I will show you our over and under picks, Ryan. When I look at my picks that I send you, I make sure that I have 9 down arrows compared to 7 up arrows at least. I'm like, because there's gonna be more unders than overs hit. Just that's how I feel. So I'm just like counting the arrows. I'm like, okay, we're okay. So without further ado, let's talk about week 3 because it starts tomorrow.
That's right.
Tomorrow, Thursday night football, and for Bills fans, this is kind of a big game as we're talking about the New Jersey Jets at home, MetLife Stadium, going against what some people would say a surprising New England Patriots team. I'm not on that bandwagon. I think about the 2 teams they've played, and Cincy is not looking like the Cincy we're accustomed to. And Will Levis is so bad. He is so bad. Did you see the fumble inside the 15 last week? That was something else. Else. And you see as he's coming back, the coach saying, "What the? I can't say it here. Are you doing?" And it's unreal that he was able to keep that team in that game for as long as he did, in my opinion. So I don't think the Jets are as good as people are saying, but I know that Ryan, you and I were never high on the Jets this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing why we weren't high on the Jets so far this season, at least. Aaron Rodgers starting off about as slow as you can expect. Now is that the injury? Is that the new personnel? Is it, a combination of things? But he's not looking good right now. They got the running game going last week between Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. That helped out a lot. Rodgers really didn't have to do too much. And I saw a stat this morning that Rodgers, this season so far, he's 0.23 seconds from snap to throw, which is the shortest of his career. So he's back and the ball's out. So this is a very short passing game. And I think that's what this game is, right? This game is going to be, the Patriots, right? Like 40 touches between Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson last week. They just grind it out. Ramondre Stevenson, one of the leading rushers in the NFL right now. The Jets giving up the 3rd most rushing yards team defense in the NFL. This is going to be a game where both teams are going to try and grind it out and run the football. I'm picking the Jets to win because I think the Jets have enough firepower that in crunch time, they get the ball last. I think they can go downfield and score. But I'm picking the under, and I'm picking the points with the Patriots because I think the defense is that good. And I think Jacoby Brissett is doing just enough where a Hunter Henry is going to maybe get into the end zone. Stevenson and Gibson are going to grind it out. And I think this will be a really slow paced game, but a very fast game from a clock perspective. I think we all might be tucked into bed by 11 o'clock tomorrow night, which would be a nice change of pace from some of the games we've had so far.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why I picked the spread because, listen, 3 field goals and you're probably covering the spread, right? Like I don't see too many touchdown scores scored. In fact, as I was on, betdsi.com. I think the over/under for touchdowns for one of these teams was 2.5. I think it was the Jets, and I was like, "There's no way they're scoring that either team is scoring more than 2 touchdowns in this game." In my opinion, I just don't think either offense is good enough to do that, and I think both defenses are really good. Even though I think Sauce Gardner is not having the start that we're accustomed to, I think this defense will do well at home. So
this is the perfect matchup for
Ryan
Sauce Gardner, though, because perfect matchup for Sauce Gardner, because who does he take away, right? Like, the Patriots don't have a wide receiver. Sauce Gardner doesn't have to be very good in this particular game. So
absolutely. So that's Thursday. That's tomorrow. I think even though from a safety standpoint, I hate Thursday night football, it gives us something to do. It gives us something to look forward to, especially if you're someone who doesn't like college football. Like the NFL is smart in that way, and it shows up every year in their wallets. So something to do for Thursday night. Moving on to Sunday's slate of games, I think we have a few. As a Bills fans, we have nothing to watch Sunday as far as our team. Our team doesn't play till Monday night. I think there's a couple good matchups on Sunday, and again, a good way to sweat a little bit is put a little money on the action. Now, here we are, Browns, Jets. We both see this going the same way. I'm sorry, Browns, Giants. It doesn't matter. They're both 2 New Jersey teams. It doesn't matter, right? We both see the Browns covering the spread. After the game last week against Washington, a heartbreaking loss, a heartbreaking divisional loss. Just wonder where the Giants really are as far as a football program at this time. Dable looks like he's losing the team, in my opinion. And so I just think that the Browns come out on top in this game.
Yeah, and I think this is a get right game for that Browns defense. I mean, they came in as a feared top 5 type of defense this year. They've yet to force a takeaway. I think they force a couple in this particular game, and I think that's really what helps make the margin of victory bigger than that 6.5, that touchdown victory. I think it's a 2-possession game, which bodes well for the spread for the Browns. I think the Browns defense gets back on track. Doesn't matter what the offense does from there, right? Like, the Giants can't score, and if the Browns defense is swarming, they may get 2 touchdowns on the defensive side of the football. So I think this one's an easy pick.
Yeah, me too. And then going to the matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans. I didn't get my picks right last week, but I was very happy that I got the upset of the Packers against the Colts correct. And, I went back and forth on this one because you think about backup quarterbacks and you're like, they're backups for a reason. But then you look again, and we talked about at the beginning of this program, you looked at what Tennessee starter did, Levis. He would be a backup on a lot of teams if just not even on, like, if a 53-man roster spot isn't available to him, he would be a backup on a lot of teams. I'm surprised that Tennessee doesn't try to figure something out here soon at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you convinced me of the Packers being able to go out and score. With Willis at quarterback and Love practice today, right? So that bodes well potentially for his status going into Sunday. This one is going to be interesting to see if he gets a full practice in tomorrow, meaning Thursday. What does this line do? I jumped on when I saw +3. I jumped on the Packers at +3. Because again, if Love starts to ramp up like he's going to play Sunday, I would expect this spread to probably go pretty far in the other direction, maybe even becoming a favorite for the Green Bay Packers by the time kickoff comes around. But I think this is too easy to pass up. Packers are playing really well. Jacob seems to be getting things going here, and the defense is playing really well. And again, Levis is an absolute disaster in Tennessee right now.
Yeah, and this might be a product of who they've played so far. But I think this Green Bay defense, people need to start talking about it because they're forcing turnovers. They're making short fields for the offense, and I think they're doing a pretty good job making their opponent work for every yard they get and keeping the scores low so that a backup quarterback can rely on the run and not have to make as many throws to win themselves some games. And again, you have a backup quarterback, you want him to finish 500, even if Jordan Love sits out this week and is back next week, that's 500, right? Like, you just went 1-1 without him, so that's 500. That's all you need to do. Going on, you got the Indianapolis Colts, 1-point favorites against the Chicago Bears, the Bears. And, I was actually surprised to see us at only 1 point. But again, the Colts have not played as well as many have thought they would so far early on in the season. But this game being at home for the Colts, so far, Ryan, you and me thinking exactly the same for the first 3 games. Probably doesn't vote too well.
Yeah. I started to worry as I was plugging all of these picks in. I'm like, oh man, I started to rethink some of my picks. But yeah, I think this one is another one where, you know, Caleb Williams is struggling to start the season. He's yet to throw a touchdown pass. The funny stat I saw today, JJ McCarthy, who hasn't played a snap and is on IR for the Minnesota Vikings, he's tied among all rookie passers with touchdowns at 0. All of the rookie quarterbacks have not thrown for a touchdown pass as of yet. So, you know, I think just the experience, Richardson, and then you talk about the weapons that he's got now with the Bears. We don't know the status of Keenan Allen. Rome Odunze is unsure as to he's going to play this week. The Colts are surprisingly stout against the run, which has been Chicago's, you know, kind of best weapon at this point. I just think it's just too much for Chicago to overcome. I think they're going to wind up Indianapolis is going to wind up winning this game. And then when the spread's only -1, that's easy to pick the spread from there.
That's right. Yeah, when the spread's only -1, it makes it a little bit easier to do that. Both have the over. I couldn't easily see a lot of points being scored in this game. Maybe a rookie quarterback throwing for a touchdown, you know, this week. We'll see if that actually happens. And this is one where, at least for the over-under, we're finally split. I see this one going over. We've seen both these teams put up numbers in bunches, but we also saw both these teams, you know, in opposite weeks not put up great numbers as well. So we both have Houston winning this game. We both have the Houston money line. Houston 2.5-point favorites on the road. We just have a difference here in how many points are being scored. But yeah, I like this Texans team. Struggled a little bit in prime time this past week, but still got the W. So can't say much about that.
Yeah, tough sledding for them this week. I think in the run, Minnesota's been really good against the run, and then the add in the injury to Joe Mixon. You're not sure what his status is going to be going into this game. It's going to be a pass-heavy type of offense from the Texans. I think this is another get-right opportunity for a defense, and that's the Houston defense. I'm still not a Sam Darnold believer. I want anyone committed if they say that they're a Sam Darnold believer from Minnesota. And I think this is an opportunity for Houston to kind of right the ship defensively where they've struggled so far this season. And I think this is, it might be a close game, right? It might be a close game if I'm picking the under, but a field goal wins it and a field goal covers the spread. That's where I think our money is here.
Yeah. And I completely agree with that. But listen, our former Buffalo Bill, I forget his first name, Harrison, right? What defensive tackle for Minnesota?
Harrison Phillips,
he's a Sam Harrison Phillips. Yeah, he's a Sam Darnold believer. He was just talking about today.
I might be convinced to be a Sam Darnold believer. Yeah, I might be convinced to be a Sam Darnold believer if the team was signing my paycheck. So, that might convince me.
You could talk to me about it that time. Absolutely. Yeah. Then you have the Eagles who are coming off of a really disappointing loss on Monday night. Fun game if you're not a fan of the Eagles or Falcons. I thought it was a fun last 5 minutes. Going into New Orleans, playing the Saints. We see this game differently. Talk to me about it, Ryan. You have the Saints winning this game, covering the spread. As I looked at this game, to me, the A.J. Brown injury might be a factor. But other than that, I was picking the Eagles more out of, the desperation for them. But talk to me about what you like about the Saints after the first 2 weeks of the season.
I mean, the Saints are rolling, right? Like, what's not to like? They've put up 40 points in both their games. Alvin Kamara's on a tear. Derek Carr is playing about as well as can be expected. They really haven't gotten Chris Olave involved yet. But this Eagles secondary is really, really bad. This is an opportunity here. The other thing I think is all of the news coming out of Philadelphia is it sounds like that place is a mess, right? Like Sirianni just absolutely blew that game last week. He called that pass on 3rd and 3 that stopped the clock, gave the Falcons the time to drive down. But the worst part is it sounds like he's at risk of losing the locker room. He did not address the team after the game, and he did not address the media after the game. That's not what you want to see when a guy is 2-9 in his last 11 games as head coach, which is what Sirianni is in Philadelphia. It feels like the wheels are falling off of this team right now. And the Saints are about as white hot as anyone touchdown is in the NFL.
Yeah,
I just don't like the situation at all for Philadelphia going into New Orleans, hostile environment. And I think this is one that might get away pretty quick. And the Eagles could get 40 hung on them the way the Saints offense is rolling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I it wouldn't have been hard to talk me out of my pick. In fact, as you were talking there, I as someone who lives close to Philly, I live an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Philly tops. Yeah, the wheels are falling off for sure. But even as I say that, I feel like there have been times in the past where Eagles fans have said that about Nick Sirianni, and then they kind of bounce back, and have like a bounce back win, even if it's a situation like this where you're not really expecting them to. But you're right. 2-9 last 11. This team is not looking good. No Brown for them again this week, which will be huge. And the Saints are on fire. So this might be one I regret. But this might be one where everyone gets surprised anyway. So I'll hold on to it and see what happens.
Philadelphia is not too far removed from winning the Super Bowl with this almost the same team. So I could absolutely see them right in the ship and winning this football game.
Right. Yep. And then we go on to the surprising game of 2-2-0 teams. This is going to be, for me, this is going to be a fun one to watch. Again, we see this completely opposite across.
I just want to throw this out there, Joe. Do you want to take a guess who's leading the AFC right now? If the playoffs were to start today, do you know who the 1 seed would be?
The Steelers.
It would be the Los Angeles Chargers right now. Would be the 1 seed.
Wow.
In the AFC. Nuts? It's only 2 games in. But
isn't that nuts?
Jim Harbaugh, man. Jim Harbaugh. Who'd have thought?
That's the Jim Harbaugh effect. Yeah, I don't think many people saw the Chargers being 2-0. You and I both thought that them getting points against the Giants week 1 was crazy, criminal. Like
we both said where are the points going to come from in this game?
The Giants.
Yeah,
and then they blew the doors off. So it shows what we know. Going into Pittsburgh, playing the Steelers, always a hostile environment there, and they're going to be amped knowing that their team's 2-0 as well. I just, again, looking at what the Chargers have done, you gotta love that running attack, but you look at the Steelers defense, they can make some trouble for a young quarterback. We'll see how this game plays out, but I like the Chargers on the road to get the job done. I'm still not convinced about the Steelers team. 2 games in, 1 touchdown, I believe, so far, a lot of field goals. So we'll see what happens there. But you like the Steelers?
Yeah, I like the Steelers. I think this is a rare September Steelers game, vintage Steelers game, right? Mm-hmm. This is going to be like a grinded out, ground and pound. Jim Harbaugh loves to run the football. Like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are earning their paychecks this year. The Steelers, I think, are going to embrace that. Mike Tomlin loves to play those types of football games. That's why I'm picking the under on this. I think that's, good. Yeah. The other thing too is, let's not forget, Justin Herbert was hobbled at the end of last week's game, right? So what's his status even going to look like? Coming into this game, he's listed right now as questionable, which you don't necessarily like to see this late in the week. But so if Herbert's out or Herbert's hobbled, that Chargers team is going to lean on the run even more, and this Steelers team is built to stop the run because Tomlin likes to build teams for November and December and not for September and October. So this is a game that probably plays right into his wheelhouse, and that's where I think they're going to probably run away. With this one, maybe the only team that scores a touchdown is the one that wins this football game.
Yeah, no, I can understand it completely. My logic, which I rarely have any for picking the over, there's no logic in here for picking the overs. Like, again, you look down the spread of the games this week, there's like 5 of them with the points in the 30s, right? And they're not all going to be under, even though the NFL predicts them to, or Vegas thinks that they're all going to be low-scoring games. 1 or 2 of them are going to break out and be like, whoa, we didn't see the Chargers scoring 22 or 24 points in this game. And I would agree with that. I wouldn't see it either. But I think the Steelers have hit the under weeks 1 and weeks 2. I'm going to go the over. I'm just going to buck that trend for some reason.
So 20-17 is over, right? Like 20-17 is over. That's so, man, that's not a high-scoring football game, right?
Exactly. So it won't take much to get over in this one. And I think for the Chargers to win, I think they'd have to score some points, right? Like logically, but no, I think they have to score 20, 24 points to win this game. And I think that's what they'll have to do. And that to me equals an over. If you have one of these teams scoring 24 points, the over is getting hit. So that's why I think the over is getting hit here. But again, think completely opposite there. Good to know we don't think exactly alike all the time. That wouldn't make for a fun show. Going to Tampa. This is actually for some people in this household, not myself. This is their pick for the elimination pool that we're in. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home going against the Denver Broncos. I like Denver to cover a 6.5 point spread. I'm huge on the bad team underdogs the past few weeks. I don't know why, but I think that this is an under game, just like you do. I like Tampa to win this game. But give me the under, and for that reason, 6.5 is a lot of points to cover if they're not even scoring 40 overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with this one is you got Bo Nix at quarterback on the other side, right? Like you've got it's two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Baker Mayfield is the second hottest quarterback in the NFL right now behind Derek Carr, and Bo Nix is averaging like 2.5 yards per attempt with passing the football. And that's just not going to cut it. Right. So, I mean, I think this one hits the under, but I think this is one that's like 23-10 type of area of scoreboard. And, I think Tampa's just playing really good football right now. It's fun to watch the NFC South because all 3 of the 4 teams are really, really good right now. Even Atlanta, even though I'm not picking them to win this week, spoiler alert, but yeah, I mean, I don't know where the points come from Denver. I've watched the first 2 games of them begrudgingly, and they just don't have any juice on offense. And the Buccaneers, I think this is one they probably put away early, get up 2 scores, and they just kind of never look back.
Yeah, and the great thing about 6.5 point spread though is if that happens, a backdoor cover is still a cover, right? Like you talk about if you have you talk about fantasy football teams, you're like, hey, junk points are still points. Backdoor covers are still backdoor covers. If the Buccaneers are up 14 late in the 4th and they're just like cover 2, high prevent, whatever they're playing, and they just allow a touchdown, I'm like, I don't care. They cover. And in fact, I'm going to bring that up. A game from last year where the 2 teams are meeting again this year, and I was I was a benefactor of that happening, but I'm going to bring that up in a little bit. Some of you might remember the game, and you'll definitely remember it when I bring it up. It's not this one because no one should have to watch this game once, let alone twice in 2 seasons. The Carolina Panthers against the Raiders. I'm actually surprised here. And why I'm surprised here is because as I was picking the Panthers for the 3rd straight week, by the way, to cover a spread for the 3rd straight week, I don't know what's wrong with me, but for the 3rd straight week to cover a spread, as I was doing it, I was like, there's no way Ryan, but the Andy Dalton effect. Am I right? The Andy Dalton effect where points are probably going to be scored finally for this Panthers team.
Yeah, I mean, but he's also probably going to turn the ball over a couple times, and I
correct. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think this Panthers team is very good. I don't think it's just a quarterback problem. I think they have a lot of problems right now offensively. They don't have a running game to speak of whatsoever. I don't know that Andy Dalton necessarily fixes things in the passing game beyond being able to throw for more than 150 yards, and he might throw for a touchdown. So, and then I think the Raiders found their stride last week, right? I mean, they played pretty good football last week and beat a really good football team. And now they get to come back home and they get to, play in the friendly confines, play against a team that's in quarterback flux. I could see Carolina covering just because of Andy Dalton. He comes out, and puts on red rifle and just kind of goes to town. But I like the Raiders in this particular one, but I like Carolina to keep it close.
Yeah, I think, again, I agree with you. I think and Dalton does some magic, maybe throws 2 touchdowns, but 2 turnovers. And, but you'll take that compared to the quarterback play they've had the first 2 weeks of the season. But I did last week, I was watching the Panthers game. Maybe I was watching Red Zone and accidentally came on. I forget. But at the start of the second half, Hubbard, I believe, is their run back, runs for like 11 yards and tries to hype up the team. And I'm like, there's no hyping up this team. like if that's the best you got is a Hubbard run for 11 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was I think it was a couple minutes into the second half before they had a first down. So, I mean, that's a bad offense. Yeah. And I don't think Andy Dalton's the fix.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Speaking of quarterback flux,
Oof.
unfortunately, you all saw it last week. You talked about the Miami Dolphins taking the unfortunate hit last Thursday against the Buffalo Bills. He's now on IR for the next 4 weeks. So he's out for at least 4 weeks, maybe longer, depending on how long it takes for him to recover. Because we have heard that he's going to play football again. As someone who's completely out of the situation, we can say what we want, but listen, it's their decision, right? Like, it's his decision, it's his life. Like, wouldn't it be the advice that I gave him? But not my problem. Like, good luck to him. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope that these decisions don't affect him later. Because he has kids now. Like, it's not just about him. So, but again, none of my business. None of my business. We talk about football. And so I believe the Dolphins are still going to go with Skylar for this game. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's still Skylar Thompson right now. Yeah, they haven't signed anybody of note. They signed Snoop Huntley to the practice squad, but I don't think he's one that's going to take that quarterback job away from Skylar Thompson. I think they'll stick with him throughout the Tua injury and kind of reassess from there. Right. This was one where I thought maybe Ryan Tannehill might be a decent landing spot for him, but I think if they're thinking Tua's back week 7, then I understand not giving the money to Tannehill because I'm sure he's not going to come cheap.
Right. Correct. No, I agree with that. It's not like a Joe Flacco situation where you need someone and Joe Flacco was like their 5th option. Like it took a few quarterbacks going down last year, leaving them fine, be like, we'll take you back. But I look at this game and we both have Seattle winning. The only reason why I think Miami can cover the spread is the only, remembrance I have of Thompson is that playoff game against the Bills. And listen, the Dolphins have enough playmakers where it's simply get them the ball and let them do something, right? If you have a backup quarterback in that situation, you say, get your playmakers the ball and make them do something for you. Don't try to be a hero. Then they still have Hill. They still have A-Chain. They still have a whole bunch of weapons. And that defense, shaky on Thursday, but you've had a long week now to kind of get your legs underneath you. And maybe, I'm still not convinced that Geno Smith is, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield in the same realm for me. Good, but how many points can they put up and can they really break away from a spread like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it feels like 2022 Geno is back. If that's the case, and this is an explosive offense, let's not forget this is a brand new offensive coordinator. They brought in the offensive coordinator from Washington from last year, who knows how to do a lot with multiple wide receivers. We've seen DK Metcalf have big games. We've seen Jackson Smith and Jigba kind of get back to what we thought he was going to be when he came out in the draft. Defensively, Pete Carroll always has those teams ready to play. I think you're right. I mean, this is a situation where the Dolphins are going to look to Tyreek Hill to kind of take this game over and take this situation over and kind of say, listen, we're just going to get you the ball 15 times and we need you to get into the end zone a couple times for us and see if we can keep this one close and win it late. But ultimately, I think Seattle's better than people are giving them credit for. I think they're playing good football right now.
Yeah. No, I mean that game last week against New England, was that a shot against Seattle that, they were close to a team that many of us thought was not a great team, or was that a boost for, people who thought New England was a bad team? Maybe they're better than we're giving them credit, better than what we're giving them credit for. And maybe we'll find out this Sunday now that they have different opposition coming up this week. One of the better 4:00 games, really, when you went into the season, you thought this game would be a higher profile game. I mean, you look at this game, and at the end of this game, both teams can be 1-2. Or the Ravens are going to be 0-3. Like that's crazy to me to think about. That could be a potential thing that we're thinking about is, will the Ravens with the MVP-led quarterback be 0-3? And in this one, I don't see that happening. Ryan, you do. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys are due. I think they've been playing better football, I think, than Baltimore has. They did not play great last week against the Saints, but the Saints kind of feel like a buzzsaw. You add in the home field advantage type of situation. I mean, the only thing about this one is this is an absolute must win for Baltimore, right? Like that's where this may come into to become a difference, right? Like 13% of teams who've started 0-2 have made the playoffs. one team since 2000 has started 0-3 and made the playoffs, and that was the 2018 Texans. So no team in the last six seasons has started 0-3 and made the playoffs. So when you talk about must win, like Baltimore's must win. The problem is Dallas is pretty good on defense. I think they're going to get back to where they've been defensively. Offensively, I think they can do enough. What causes me concern is CeeDee Lamb now, questionable for the game. He did not practice today. That's a huge loss for Dallas if so. But I think this one might get into a little bit of a grindy type of game for these two games, a defensive battle.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, I think Dak is playing quarterback better than Lamar Jackson is. And I'll always take the quarterback that's playing better football in games that I think are going to be tight.
Sure. Absolutely. No, I completely agree with that. And again, we have the 1 point spread. So either way, no matter how you spin it, I think this actually started reverse. I think that
it did. Yeah, the Cowboys opened as favorites,
and then it kind of switched. Yeah. So I would say smart money's on Baltimore, but then I picked them. So I just don't know. I just don't know how accurate that statement is anymore. I might curse whoever smart money might be on them, but that's the only reason I picked Baltimore. What you just said, this is a must-win situation for the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, can you imagine the Steelers win against the Chargers and the Ravens lose? Then you're sitting 3 games back of the Steelers. And we all know the Steelers and Ravens are going to play each other tough. Like, it doesn't matter what records are when those two teams play against each other. They're going to split and they're going to play each other tough. But to know you're already 3 games back in your division, 3 games in, like you said, that hasn't – no one's come back from that in the past 6 years. It's only happened once since 2000. So it really matters how they play in this game. And that's the only reason why I picked them is they need this game. And Dallas, got smacked. They got smacked last week by a really good Saints team. No one was predicting them to be good. But how do they respond to that? And I think that's going to be an interesting take going into this week. But I'm very interested to see how this game turns out. Just because, again, as Bills fans, go Dallas, go NFC team. Whenever an NFC team is playing an NFC team, go NFC team. But they're going to be very interested to see how this one plays out. This is the game that I talked about earlier. I don't know if you remember last year. I don't know if people bet last year. These two teams played early in the season, and the Rams were down by 10, and it was a 7.5-point spread. And McVay kicked a field goal last second to make it a 7-point loss instead of a 10-point loss. And I was like, yeah, they did. Of course they did. But here we are again, 7.5 points. We see this one going the same way. I think the Rams, and I don't think they win this game, but I think the Rams are starting to feel the same type of desperation. You see Seattle winning football. You see San Fran, they lost last week, but you expect them to be there. You see Arizona looking as good as they did last week. The Rams are also in a desperate situation here. And to be honest, that's why I think they keep this game close. But the 49ers just have the Rams number over the past however many years. And I think that continues here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a game where San Francisco can run away and hide, right? They're still without Christian McCaffrey. It sounds like they're going to be without Debo. It sounds like they could be without Ayuk. There's issues on both sides of the football. And then you look at the Rams, no Kupp, no Puka. They don't know who their running back is right now. So there's 2 offenses in disarray, 2 defenses that are, okay, and can kind of keep guys, tempered down if you're going to hand the ball off, 30 times. So I think this is one that the Rams are able to keep close. But this might also be just one where there's just a garbage time touchdown that kind of covers the over for you. But I think San Fran wins this game. I don't think it's going to be as close on the field as it is in the scorebooks.
Sure. So I chuckle a little bit because I don't have a fantasy football team, but my wife does, and so she'll always ask me for advice. And she was looking at the next week's games, and I didn't watch the Rams game this past Sunday. And so Sunday we're sitting there, and she's like, "Should I play this guy?" And she was talking about why his name, the Rams wide receiver, who named
Cooper Kupp.
Healthy. Cooper Kupp, yeah, Kupp. And I was like, yeah, pick Cooper Kupp because Puka's out. And she's like, no, it protects 0. I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, he's hurt too. Like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. But yeah, I heard that and I was like, man, that's so bad. But yeah, I do think that this is going to be, control the clock, control tempo, and try to run it out because we have seen Wilson's able to run the ball pretty well, even in the absence of McCaffrey. So I do see San Fran controlling the ball and trying to limit possessions, and they come away with the victory, even though those games at LA, give me the Niners with the win. Speaking of the Arizona Cardinals, just spoke about them a little bit ago, coming off a hot game where they looked really good last week. Marvin Harrison Jr., he was slowed down by Buffalo quite a bit, and that looks even better now that he did in week 2 what he did in week 2. Like, wow, look at what the Buffalo Bills can do. They did it against Marvin Harrison Jr. They did it against Waddle and Hill. What's going to happen this week against Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis or whoever they got over there? But this Arizona team's going against a Lions team coming off a defeat, coming off a loss, and I think they're going to be seeking a little bit of that revenge. Like, this is a revenge spot for the Detroit Lions where they want to come out. They want to be 2-1. They don't want to fall too far behind in the division either. And I think that the Lions have just the better team overall. This is a much better defense that the Arizona Cardinals are going up against than they did last week as well. And I think that's gonna be what ultimately leads to the Lions win this game. I have the under simply because 52.5 points is so many points. But the past 2 weeks, I believe the highest overs have hit, and this is the highest over this week. So you can easily see this one hitting as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm picking it because the two teams' average points through the first 2 games are enough to cover the over. And then I think that you're playing 2 really bad defenses, right? Like Detroit has played a couple of not too bad defenses. Arizona's played a couple of not too bad defenses. And both teams have still done enough to cover the over. So that's where my mind is there. Otherwise, we agree on this one. I just think Detroit's got too many horses in this one.
Yeah. But we don't agree on the Sunday night football game. And to me, here it is, Ryan. Here's why. And listen, I do think the Kansas City Chiefs are a better team. Please do not let what I think here make you believe that I think the Falcons are a better team than the Chiefs. However, when the Chiefs have lost game for the most part over the past 2, 3, 4 seasons, even under Mahomes, you go back to Mahomes, first season starting in 2018, they seem to lose games early in the season. Like, even games that they should win. You just look at their schedule the first few weeks of the season and they take a loss. Last season, it was week 1 against Detroit. I think they go into this game, again, unlike week 1 this year where it was 2 AFC teams, they come to this one NFC team. They know if they're going to lose a game, this is the one they're going to lose in Atlanta on Sunday Night Football. I think that Atlanta comes in hot and they come in thinking that they can beat the Kansas City Chiefs team. And I think that that's a recipe for disaster. Now, I do see Kansas City, scoring some points, and that's why I picked the over in this one. But I see the underdog at home coming away with the victory. And a lot of people will be surprised by that, and maybe you should because the better team loses in this instance. But Kansas City's, last week just barely escaped a loss against the Bengals, and I think this week they have a tougher test, at least from early season results.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference here is we saw what happened in that Bengals game, and then we saw what happened in the Eagles game, right? Like, Kansas City does not lose that game that Atlanta just won against Philadelphia, right? Like, Andy Reid gives the ball to Carson Steele on 3rd and 3, hands the ball off. If he doesn't get the first down, he runs 40 seconds off the clock. Atlanta never sniffs the opportunity. Chiefs win by 6. This is one where I think wishful thinking gets you overthinking, and this one is just straight. It's Sunday Night Football. It's the Chiefs. It's Andy Reid. Like, don't overthink it. The Chiefs are gonna win this football game. It's gonna be under, though. I do think that it's a game that's surprisingly under, and the reason for that is Chiefs aren't scoring a lot of points lately, right? Like, Patrick Mahomes over his last 10 games, I think he's broken 20 points like maybe 3 times. Like, they're not scoring a lot of points, and now they don't have Isaiah Pacheco, so they're gonna have to figure out the running back position. But it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, Sunday Night Football. I'm going to take them in every
Good
instance,
house.
unless it's the Bills, and those ones I just pick with my heart. So
those ones are the ones that you pick, hopeful
That's right.
that
That's right.
something's going to happen. But this one, I'm really looking forward to the Sunday Night Football matchup. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. But then you have two Monday Night Football games.
Yeah,
and this
two
kind
Monday
of
nighters this week.
this kind of bugs me a little bit, not because this is the first time we've seen. Last season we had two Monday Night Football games week 2. The season before that, because for a while they were doing two Monday Night Football games week 1 of the NFL season.
Yep.
We had East Coast Monday Night Football game and West Coast. That happened like 5-6 years in a row. And then we had two last year, week 2, now week 3 this year. The problem I see with this, and some Bills fans might remember this, is it seems like when the Bills play Monday night, except for this Cincinnati Damar Hamlin thing, that there's a Monday night game along with it. What is going on? Why do the Bills always have two Monday Night Football games? Don't they think the Bills can fill that time slot and give you the audience you want? And for the most part, most primetime games that Buffalo plays in aren't in Buffalo. So happy to see that this one is. Ryan, you have the Bills winning and covering the spread. I have the Jaguars covering the spread. You have the over in this one. I have the under in this one. The only reason why I picked the under is because it's a primetime game, and I picked the over in the previous primetime game. I can't be picking overs on too many primetime games here, Ryan. But I also think that the Jaguars and Bills always seem to play close. I mean, I can go back to when the Bills played the Jaguars, and we had E.J. Manuel 10 years ago in London, and the Jaguars got to this huge lead in the first half, and the Bills chipped away at it in the second half, and it was a one-possession game. I feel like every game that these two teams play is a pretty close game, going back to last year in London as well, and I think that this game is going to be no different, even though I do see the Bills winning it. I see the Jaguars possibly covering the spread. Jaguars, even though they're not winning yet, keeping games close.
Listen, right now, the Buffalo Bills are the best team in football. They are the best team in football right now. Defensively, McDermott has those guys absolutely buzzing, despite having to play some backups. It's a vintage McDermott type of situation. And I don't think that they've really unleashed what this offense can look like right. And they're still blowing, they're still really walking over opponents. If you take away, you shouldn't ever do this, but if you take away that first half against Arizona, they have been absolutely dominant in their last 6 quarters of football. The Jaguars are a mess. The Jaguars don't know what their identity is. They don't have any wide receivers. Travis Etienne can't hang on to the football. Tank Bigsby's banged up. This is a team where the Bills are the best team in my mind. The Bills are the best team in football right now. If they want to prove that they're the best team in football, this is a game that they go out and they win by 2 possessions. And this has been a different McDermott so far this season. This has been a different Josh Allen so far this season. He's taken care of the football for the most part. Like, this is a game where if Buffalo is the class of the NFL, like I think they are, and I think that like a lot of people think they are, this is a game that they don't let the Jaguars have any type of hope, and they get up early. They go down first possession and they put points on the board, and they never look back from there. And I think this is one where Buffalo hopefully walks. I'm going to the game. I go to all the home games. This is a game I'm rooting for because it's a Monday nighter. I'm rooting for being able to leave by beginning of the fourth quarter. Actually, I'd like to get on the road and be home maybe even before the game ends.
And another thing about this game, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe after this game is when that little gauntlet of 3 road games in a row starts for the Buffalo Bills, right? I think they have the Texans.
They go to Baltimore, to Houston, and then
to Baltimore, to Houston, to the Jets, right? Yeah. So I think for that reason,
you can question. You circled that as the gauntlet early in the season, or before the season started. Is that still a gauntlet? Right? Is playing a 1-2 Baltimore Ravens team, a 2-1 New York Jets team, and a underwhelming 3-0 Houston Texans team, is that really as daunting as you thought it was going to be? Right now, the way that things are shaken out, Buffalo has gone from the 3rd most difficult schedule in the NFL to the 22nd most difficult schedule in the NFL going forward. So the tale of what was last year is not this year.
And that's why But that's always the case, right?
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
why I always hate when people bring up like last year's strength of like if you're talking about in this year's strength of schedule, like I'm with you, like we're on the same page, great. But when people start talking about last year's strength of schedule and say all off season long, you hear, oh, this team's playing, the Patriots have the second biggest strength of schedule. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. None, like no one thinks about Christian McCaffrey getting injured. No one thinks about Joe Burrow not playing well to start off the year. Like all these things happening that all of a sudden strength of schedule from last year means nothing. It happens every single year. And yet every year we're like, oh, look at the strength schedule. I'm like, no, I'm not looking at the strength schedule. For me, it's just the fact that you have 3 road games in a row. Like that's what's tough. Last year, fun fact for you, last year, teams that had 3 straight road games, 0-15 against the spread last year.
Wow.
So, just something to keep in mind going into this year. I'm sure Vegas won't let that happen again, but I think that kind of gives you an inkling of where you want to go with those bets in the future. We'll get to our bets in 1 second. One more game here. Ryan, you like the Commanders to cover a big spread in this one. I have the Bengals covering the spread. We both have the Bengals winning this, and we both have the prime time under hitting. Not much to say about this game. I don't think.
Yeah.
I could see easily that the Commanders covering the spread only because the Bengals have not been impressive at all this season so far. They were able to keep that game close against Kansas City, but they gave that game away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Bengals are playing very good football right now. I think they get back on track here, but I also don't think that Washington's playing great football. I think they're better than their record shows. Jaden Daniels, really showed some fight at the end of last week. And he's bound to have a breakout game at some point. Why not against Cincinnati?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I just was reminded to remind you guys that don't forget that I will be joining you Monday, 7:00. It is sooner than your normal Monday night slot, which is awesome because that means I get to go to bed sooner. So that's great. But
make sure you stick around after the game. Joe always does his thing during the play-by-play, but make sure you stick around because I'm sure at least Paul will be doing a post-game show. Maybe we'll actually get Mario to come out if he's not too tired before work the next day. And then I'll hop on with Paul as soon as I get home from the game as well. So we'll have the post-game reaction and all that good stuff.
More than likely, I'll be staying up to at least watch the end of this game. And if they need me to do double duty, I'm always happy to do a double, pull a double, and hang out with hashtag Nation and build Mafia for a little bit longer. But yeah, do not forget that the Bills game starts at 7:30. I'll be live here at 7, and then this game is your normal Monday night slot starting at 8:15. So you can hang out, watch this game, and we could talk about the Bills. However you want to do it, just hang out with me on Monday, Ryan. I hope you enjoy the game. But listen. You're on a hot streak, so I'm gonna let you kick us off here with the parlays and the bets. But let's talk about the bets. Before we do that, Ryan, do you want to go over Bet DSI one more time as I get this up and running?
Yeah, betdsi.eu. They partner this season with hashtag sports. Make sure you support the folks that support us and doing all the things that you guys love to join, love to watch. They're doing an amazing match right now, up to $1,000. They will match you 120% of your first deposit. Just use the promo code HTAG. DSI.eu has been around for 25 years. They're as reliable as you can get on the marketplace. They've got great odds. They've got great parlay builders. They've got great lines from everything that I've seen. So, make sure you support the folks that support hashtag sports and Bet DSI are those guys. Promo code HTAG. And like Joe said, the cool thing about them is other sites, other sportsbook sites, they give you the promo code, they get you in, and then they're kind of like, well, you stay with us if you want. Bet DSI, they keep making you come back, man. They keep throwing these promos at me. I'm getting emails on a daily basis of all these cool promos, no sweat bets, a lot of deposit matches, a lot of free plays, all those cool things that come with a great site like betdsi.eu. So make sure you check them out. Promo code HTAG.
What wasn't a cool thing for me last week, and this wasn't Bet DSI's fault because I went to other sports books and couldn't find it, is if you were with us last week, you know that I had Josh Jacobs. I believe I set the over-under at like 82.5, which I personally believe would have been plus money, maybe like plus 115, something like that. But no sports book had it that I went to. So I was like, and that's the only one that I would have won. That's the only one I would have won. Instead, I'm down 10 units. You're up, I believe, a little over 10 units, if I am remembering correctly. Just remember that for us, 1 unit equals $5, max 6 units bet per week. One of our parlays, our lock of the week, our lock parlay of the week, we have to do at least 2 units. If I keep losing like this, I'm gonna make up some fun parlays to try to get back in it real soon. But again, only week 3. We're gonna keep going. So Brian, go ahead and talk about your bets, and then I'll give you mine. I see that we have one same guy get an anytime touchdown, so I feel good about that.
Yeah, James Conner. Lions are the worst team in the NFL against the run in the red zone. They're allowing the most touchdowns to opposing running backs. So James Conner, anytime touchdown, that was an easy one for me. That one's actually minus money for Vegas. So they think James Conner is going to get in the end zone as well. Jordan Mason, back-to-back weeks, he's scored. He's the workhorse in San Francisco right now. He's going to get every carry, especially the goal line carries. And then the Gus Bus, man, he is putting in the work. He has not gotten into the end zone yet. Last week it was J.K. Dobbins. It snuck in on a huge run. I think Gus gets in this week. That's a 2-unit play plus 750. My anytime touchdown guarantee last week did hit plus 700. So amping it up just a little bit. Gus Edwards kind of juices that number a little bit for me to 750. And then my Bills specific play, I'm trying to give you guys one of those every week as well. James Cook, anytime touchdown. James is cooking. He's absolutely rolling right now. I think he gets into the end zone again this week. And then a fun one that I found on BetDSI today, which I haven't seen on other sports books in the past. Longest touchdown. The over-under was set at 39.5. For Buffalo Jacksonville. I like the under on that one. I don't think either of these teams necessarily are explosive type of plays. James Cook had a long touchdown run for, I think it was 41 yards last week, which would have put it at the over, but Jaguars don't have that bum Jordan Poyer who's too old to play in the NFL, playing safety for them, taking bad angles like he's still 26 years old. So I don't think we see any explosive plays. The Bills secondary keeps things on lock. And I think they're going to score close to the touchdown this time around. So James Cook, anytime touchdown, longest touchdown of the game, under 39.5 yards. That's a 1-unit play for plus 249. And hopefully we continue the hot streak that we picked up last week.
Yeah, and this, even though I'm behind, I want Ryan to continue the hot streak. I just want to join in on the hot streak. Like I just want to win too. Like it's not. I don't want Ryan to lose. I just want to win too. That's all I want. It's not like I'm going after Ryan's money. You know what I'm saying? But for me, it's the parlay of the Jays, right? Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, James Conner. If you look at the odds plus 468, that pretty much means these guys are all about even money, if not a little even minus. In the minus money to score touchdowns. I'm just trying to get in the winner's circle, right? Like I'm trying to get some momentum going, and that's what you'll see with some of my parlays right now. And that's what you should do if you're on a losing trend. You should try to find some bets that you're pretty confident in. In fact, if you want to bet each one of these 3 individually instead of parlaying it, that makes sense because one of these 3, more than likely, if not 2 of these 3, are going to get in the end zone, and then you'll get some of that money back. So as far as my little fun parlay, again, kind of like you, I haven't seen this on other sports books, but I saw this on BetDSI. 3 straight scores by either team. Don't see that happening tomorrow night, right? I don't see either of these teams scoring 3 possessions in a row, and that would be field goals or touchdowns. I just don't see it happening. I see both these defenses kind of controlling this game, and I see a lot of punts happening and a lot of turnovers tomorrow. And Saints total touchdowns. I have the over in the Saints-Eagles game. I think both these teams are going to score a lot of points. Give me the over the 2.5, 1 unit plus 262. I like those plays. I think, again, that both plays have a good chance of hitting, and so that's why we went with those. And, again, some special bets that you'll only see, or at least Ryan and I have only seen on Bet DSI, and we'll keep doing that all season long. We'll find bets that you normally don't see elsewhere and just promote Bet DSI because, like Ryan said, one of the safest out there, been around for 25 years. The moment Ryan and I got on there, one of the first things we said was, "Man, wish we would have known about this sooner."
Yeah.
Because it's just that good, and so we want you guys to use it as well, and the promos help as well, getting that free money. Going to our props of the week, I'm looking at that Bills Jacksonville game, and a couple of mine. I have Gabe Davis getting that revenge TD. Gabe Davis right now is the leading receiver as far as receptions. I think he's tied for the Jaguars, so they're getting him involved. I could see them trying to get him in the end zone against his former team. That's in a plus 350. I like those odds. This was again a Bet DSI exclusive. They do like these combos in one bet, and one of them was Kincaid getting a touchdown and the Bills winning. I think in the second half of the game last week, Brady turned it off. Like he didn't open his playbook at all because he didn't have to. The moment the Bills went up 31-10, he said, "Oh, well, let's just, yeah, whatever. Josh, you do whatever you want. Run the ball. I don't care." And it worked, and that's fine. Alvin Kamara right now, the leading touchdown scorer in the NFL. I think he has 4 already this season. So, you could put him as anytime touchdown, but I think that's minus money. But, again, when you're losing, that's not a bad bet. Just win some money back. That's all you want to do. But I think putting him down as the first TD score at plus 500 as the leading TD getter so far in the NFL, I think that's pretty good odds. And so I'm going to take him. So I have Alvin Kamara scoring the first touchdown in their game as well. So those are my single props of the week. Ryan, what you got?
Yeah, so I'm going a little conservative this week because I had hit pretty big last week. So still some ones that I really like. Gardner Minshew over 218.5 passing yards. He's averaging so far this season 265 yards per game. I don't think that lets up this week. So I like Gardner Minshew over 218.5 passing yards. I do want to ask, though, Joe, are we getting into degenerate territory where we're betting on Gardner Minshew over unders? But hopefully we're not there yet after week 3. The next one, Ramondre
as long
Stevenson.
as it's not preseason.
Yeah, that's right. Next one, Ramondre Stevenson over 64.5 yards. He's averaging over 100 yards a game so far through the first 2 weeks. The Jets are giving up on average 150 yards per game rushing. So I like this marriage next week, or tomorrow night rather. Ramondre Stevenson to get over 64.5 yards. And then the next one is taking a page out of your book, Joe. I grabbed your parlay. I took a look at all the numbers. I was like, boom, Josh Jacobs, man, first touchdown scored of the game. I think they do a good job of getting down into the red zone. And then whether it's Love, who's hurt, or it's Willis, I think the Packers are going to try and protect those guys from themselves, and they're going to just give it to their workhorse running back and let him punch it in. So Josh Jacobs there. So again, Gardner Minshew over 218.5, that's minus 114. Stevenson over 64.5, that's minus 113. Josh Jacobs first touchdown scored, only 170. That's low for a first touchdown score. You see the difference between the Alvin Kamara line and the Josh Jacobs line. So plus 170 is kind of juicy. It's a nice little bankroll builder there, a double up if you can get it. So those are my picks of the week.
Yeah, and I see your Ramondre Stevenson. It reminded me that another bet that I saw on Bet DSI that I was very interested in. I want your take on it because I would have went Stevenson, but they had Stevenson versus again Breece Hall. Who's gonna have the most rushing yards? And I went Stevenson. You said Breece Hall. Is that who you're going with if you had to pick them?
I'd go with Stevenson there. I think the Patriots are really, really good against the run. The Jets haven't shown they can stop the run yet, but the Patriots have shown that they're absolutely willing to hand the ball off 40 times. Stevenson's going to get 25 of those probably, and I don't think there's any reason to think that he's not going to rush for 100 yards tomorrow night.
Yeah, and not only that, I also look at the Jets and I say they definitely are getting the ball, running the game, the running attack. It's not just Breece Hall, right? They're getting it to that other kid as well.
Yep.
So they have that 1-2 punch there. And I agree with you. I think Stevenson has more yards tomorrow, but we'll find out tomorrow, and it all starts tomorrow. You can pretty much guarantee because Ryan and I are 3-0 in betting the spread and the winner in the primetime games before Sunday. We won Thursday, Friday, and then Thursday. So we're 3-0 in the primetime games leading up to the weekend. So you can pretty much guarantee that we're going to knock this one out of the park too. At least that's what we hope. So go ahead and make your bets. Again, bet smart, bet with the only money you can afford to lose. And if you do have a gambling problem, or you know someone with a gambling problem, like Brian said, each state has their own phone number to call. You can give them a call, and they'll help you out there too. Until then, listen, guys, enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, enjoy some football. Don't forget to hang out with me for the game on Monday, and then Ryan, Paul, whoever else might join them for the post game. Ryan, enjoy the game Monday. You guys have fun. We'll talk to you all soon. Until we do, go Bills.